Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Eric. I am Jake. Our man Mon will be on in 3, 2, 1. And there he is. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. Mon is here. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. Hooday to everyone out there. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Guys, we got a fun show. I love that we're starting to get in off-season mode here. We're going to talk about positions of need, exciting stuff. Before we do, though, Mon, how's your week been, bud?
Good. Busy. Working, teaching at the college. Had a big day today. Everything's good. Just excited for the Super Bowl. Believe it or not, I know our Bengals aren't in it. I'm really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I got to work Super Bowl Sunday, but still, I just love watching football. And at the same time, when that game ends, to me, the start of the season, everybody's 0-0, and we can start really ramping up and start talking about the off season. And free agency is only 5 weeks away. So
5 weeks.
It's
5 weeks away.
It's going to be a crazy 5 weeks with everything that's happening and with the Bengals, and we're going to talk about a lot of that tonight.
Absolutely, Eric. How's your week been, bud?
Man, this is Pro Bowl week. The week that everybody dreams about, right? Everybody wants to see their players dominate in the Pro Bowl, jump into the foam pit. I mean, come on, can't ask for anything better. I don't know. It's kind of one of we've got a very, very blah matchup in the Super Bowl. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to root for. All I could say, watching some of the media quotes that are coming out and the whole world calling out the Chiefs and calling out the refs for being biased. It's great to see it. It's great to see those random reporters throwing those curveballs at the Chiefs and watching them tap dance all over the floor. So that's the only moral victory that comes out of this week. But you had a big weekend, and I think Pulse Nation wants to hear about your weekend. I got to go to the Pro Bowl and got to meet some celebs. Tell us about how it went down. What's going on here?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Obviously, you don't expect those kind of things. And this situation kind of worked out crazy because Baker was not supposed to be in the Pro Bowl, which again, I think is absolutely insane. How this guy is a top 3 quarterback in the NFC. There's some of my players there. Top 3 quarterback in the NFC, and for some reason he is not a starter in the Pro Bowl. But it worked out. We had bought the tickets, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Ryder, my son, and I really going to see Joe and Jamar and Trey, and then last week, after the Eagles win the NFC Championship, Jalen Hurts gets removed from the Pro Bowl, and Baker Mayfield gets added to the roster. And we find out basically the night before we had reached out to Baker's people and let them know that some of us were going to be there. And Baker's people got back with us and said, listen, when you get there, just let us know. We want to get you down on the field. Baker wants to meet you. And, again, you kind of never know how those things are going to work out. But sure enough, we get there and Baker's people comes and gets us, brings us onto the field. So we're on the field, and you can see us right there. We're at the entrance of the AFC players. The NFC players were on the other side. And then this is a great story. Guys, this is how you know that you're doing parenting the right way, right? This was a proud dad moment for me. So we're standing there, we're waiting for Baker, and the first player to come out is Russell Wilson, right? So Russell Wilson walks right over to us, and you can see my players all have their state championship shirts on. And Russell walks over and is like, congratulations, guys. Great job on your state championship. Da, 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 da. So my son, Ryder, who you can see in the Joe Burrow jersey right there next to Baker and next to myself, he's got this helmet and he's so excited to meet all these players, but he turns and looks at me and goes, Dad, he's a Steeler. I don't want his autograph. And Ryder, listen, and listen.
Let's go, Ryder.
This is what's crazy. Russell Wilson's standing right in front of us when this is happening, right? You're like, I'm looking at Ryder like, no. I said, Ryder, listen, Russell is a Seattle Seahawk. He will always be a Seattle Seahawk. So I had to explain to my son about his lineage with the Seahawks. And I don't know if I sent you guys that picture, but Ryder ended up getting his picture with Russell. And let me tell you guys something. Russell is a great dude. He is a great dude. He does not belong on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Talking to him, I'm telling you, he was so gracious to my players and my son. So shout out to Russell Wilson. Hopefully he gets out of that city by West Virginia, because he is a really good dude. Next, Drake May came out, and Drake May came over, congratulated us on our state championship. And Drake May, another really good dude. My son got a picture with him and got to talk to him a little bit. But here we go, guys. This was a great one, because Eric, you and I we've gotten the opportunity to meet a lot of Bengals players going to the Bengal games and being able to go in early and all that stuff. And we've never met Trey Hendrickson, right? So we're standing there, and Trey Hendrickson he walked on the field early. There's no other players out there, but he was on the other side. And he was autographing and kind of talking to some Bengal fans over there, but he was far from us. So Trey Hendrickson's one of Ryder's favorite players. And Ryder's yelling, Trey. We're trying to get his attention. He goes down the sideline, doesn't see us, and going to talk to some media and stuff like that. So Ryder and I leave that spot, and we go down to about the 50-yard line, and we yell for him, and Trey sees us, and when he sees us, he's like lifts his head, acknowledges us, and comes running over to us. And I'm gonna tell you what, guys, Trey Hendrickson, he is a outstanding player. He is an even better dude. He was so cool. He was so awesome to my son. We got pictures with him. He autographed all of our Bengal stuff. And it's funny because my son said, Trey, you are my favorite Bengal now. And I don't think Trey believed him. And Trey goes, what about Jamar? And Ryder's like, no, you're my favorite Bengal. So meeting Trey and getting to hang out with Trey, he hung out with us for about 5 or 6 minutes, and then went on his way. Didn't really didn't really mingle or anything. Just came over to talk to us real quick. And then of course Baker, guys, let me tell you something. I do not root for anyone that's not in stripes, but I am rooting for this dude as long as he's not playing the Bengals. And I told him that. I also told him, you could see us there talking. Literally, we're just talking about each other's season. He's talking about his season with the Bucs. I'm talking about my season, winning the state championship and stuff. And he was just so gracious to all of my players, and so gracious. Just talking ball. Like, guys, he is such a good dude. Like, he's just down to earth. Just wanted to talk about football with me. So we talked for about 6 or 7 minutes. And right before he left, I said, dude, let me just tell you something. I am so glad you are not in Cleveland anymore, because you owned us. And he did. He owned the Bengals when he was in Cleveland. And he's like, yeah, he's like, I used to like playing you guys. He goes, you're happy that I'm out of Cleveland. basically, just repeating what Myles Garrett said here recently about wanting to get out of that factory of sadness. But again, man, I just want to thank Baker and his people. And I'm telling you guys, he is such a good dude. He is hard not to root for.
Yeah.
But listen, this is the bummer of it all, right? So after Baker leaves us, he heads out. They make us leave the field, And like 7 or 8 minutes later, Joe Burrow comes walking right by where we were. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Because, Eric, we got to meet Jamar for the Broncos game, but we have still not met Joe yet. But again, meeting Trey Hendrickson was awesome and hanging out with him, and obviously the Baker situation. So it was a great experience for myself and my son and my some of my high school players that were able to go. It was awesome. The game itself, though, let me tell you, they have got to change the Pro Bowl because it was the longest flag football game I have ever seen in my life. It was like the first quarter and then dogs catching Frisbees for 30 minutes. And then the second, it was just, it was rough, but great experience.
For sure. So we got this picture and we were having to speculate on what conversation you were having. So I've kind of settled on, I know that you're here, you're standing there, you're talking to Baker Mayfield, the gracious thing that he did for your team to get all the equipment. And I know 100% that this conversation right here is, so Baker, the Bengals can sign T. Higgins, right? You got enough money, right? Right. That's what you were asking Baker, wasn't it?
He was asking Baker. He was telling Baker, Joe Burrow's the best quarterback in football. You're number 2, then Pat Mahomes. Okay, that's the way it goes. That's what I told him.
Yeah,
that's basically what I said. I don't honestly. I don't think I need to say that to Baker. I think Baker is well aware of. Let me tell you guys something. And then I know we got to move on, but let me just tell you this, dude. Joe Burrow, when he was announced at that Pro Bowl game, and it was packed. The stands went absolutely berserk, guys. I'm telling you, when Joe Burrow, every time his name was announced, it was like being at a home game for the Bengals, dude. There were so many Bengal fans there representing, and I'm telling you guys, Joe Burrow is a fan favorite, not just a Bengal fan, but he is becoming a fan favorite in the NFL. And the better thing is, every time a Chiefs player was announced, the entire stadium booed. I felt bad because each team has a cheerleader that represents them. When they announced the Chiefs cheerleader, everyone booed her. It was horrible. It was funny, but it was hysterical. Like Chiefs players, Chiefs cheerleaders, they were booed the whole time. The whole stadium was booing them.
Yeah, hard to say you're sorry about that, but I feel bad for the cheerleader. She doesn't deserve the therapy costs that's going to put her through. Hopefully that comes with her employment. The only big thing that came out of Pro Bowl week was, once again, we heard Joe Burrow doubling, tripling, I don't know, this would be quadrupling down on the contract talks. When asked about T. Higgins, Jamar, and Trey, Burrow was quoted as saying, "We can make it happen. It has to be right for everybody involved. I know the players want to make it work. We all want to be together. I don't see it not working out." So, Mon, what are your thoughts on Burrow, just every chance he gets, telling this front office in front of the public that his guys better be here and they better be signed long-term?
Yeah, he's definitely putting some pressure on. I did listen to ESPN 1530 today, and Mo Egger had Paul Boehner on. They were talking just about what your question. They were talking about the Pro Bowl and him tripling down. And Paul Boehner brought up a good point. He goes, Joe Burrow is like family now. $270 million contract, $250 million. His opinion matters in that organization. And it does put pressure on them. Is T going to sign? I hope so. And obviously Joe hopes so. It puts pressure on him. There's no guarantee it's going to happen, but they are listening. And it's a lot different from any other quarterback that's ever been in that organization. All right. And the front office, he said this. He goes, if Joe Burrow doesn't get, Joe Burrow turns nasty, like a Carson Palmer situation, the fan base will side with Joe Burrow because he has such a following in Cincinnati. Jake just said in Orlando, the people screaming for him there, and it's going to be really interesting to monitor because when Joe talks, I think Mike Brown and Katie are going to listen.
Yeah,
I
I
like it.
mean,
See?
yeah, 100%. Exactly what Juan said. He's right. I mean, listen, we have talked about this so many times on this show that there is a Joe Burrow effect. There really is. I mean, like Mon said, and you got to think, the Bengals have had some great quarterbacks, right? I mean, Ken Anderson should be in the Hall of Fame, right? And Boomer Esiason had an incredible career, MVP of the league. The Bengals have had these great quarterbacks, and listen, I'm not going to say Andy Dalton in that category of those guys, but let's be real. Andy Dalton was solid. He was solid. I don't care what anybody says. He was solid. 5 years in a row making the playoffs is not easy to do. So the Bengals have had a lot of these franchise type quarterbacks, but Mon is 100% right. There is no one that has ever walked through those doors that has had the same kind of pull that Joe Burrow is going to have. And listen, all along I have thought that T. Higgins is going to be a Bengal long term. I have no doubt in my mind that T. Higgins is going to be a Bengal long term. I think everyone in the building is listening to what Joe Burrow is saying, and Joe Burrow is making it very clear he's not pulling any punches with this. Every time Joe Burrow is having the opportunity to speak live on national television, he is making a point of saying that these guys need to be back in Cincinnati. There's no way the Bengals can ignore that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, that guy that has the agenda. Every meeting he's in, he brings up his topic. I think they could be out there talking to Joe Burrow about the latest ice cream flavor up there at Graders is producing, and he'll be going in and eating the Skyline chili ice cream and saying, "Oh, by the way, do you know that we really need to sign T. Higgins, and I think it could happen." And they're like, "Joe, we just asked you about the ice cream." "No, but I really think T. Higgins can happen." So that's definitely where Joe Burrow is right now.
And
And I love it.
remember too, Carson Palmer, when all that was happening with Carson, remember he came out and he talked about, I want all these guys signed and I want all this done. And, the Terrell Owens thing. And, we heard that was Carson's doing and stuff, but in the long run, even Carson being a franchise guy did not pull the same weight that Joe Burrow is pulling right now, Mom.
No, he did not. They brought that up too on their radio show today. Mo and Paul, they brought that up, and it's true. I mean, uh, Carson Palmer did not have the persona, the backing of the fans like a Joe Burrow does. Carson Palmer was a great quarterback before that injury, even after the injury. We can't discount that. But
No.
His divorce in Cincinnati and left a sour taste with the fans. It's going to be a big debate. I asked some questions on Twitter. I've seen other people mention it. It's going to be an interesting 6 weeks. I'm not trying to jump around here, but the Bengals can sign Trey, T, and Jamar. We know Jamar is getting done. That's a done deal.
That's a done.
They can sign the other three, but guys, we got to be real. If that happens, which I hope it does, that's what Mon wants. If we want an elite guard and an elite defensive tackle and elite safety, it's not going to happen. We're going to get one. We're going to get some middle of the road guys at that spot. The other key is these new coaches, the new offensive line coach, new defensive line coach, a new defensive coordinator. They have to make the players that played a lot this year, they got to make them 10, 15, 20% better. That's the key. Yeah. Because if we sign those big three, we're not going to get an elite guard. We're not going to get an elite safety in free agency. It's not going to happen. But it's going to be up to this coaching staff to maximize, squeeze a little more talent out of those other guys.
100%.
Yeah. So Joe Burrow is throwing his weight around. Joe Burrow gets what Joe Burrow wants. News out of the AFC North and out of another one of our competitors is that Myles Garrett has requested a trade. He wants to play with a contender, and Cooper Kupp was told that he will be traded. Could Joe Burrow make a call and say, "Go get me Myles, go get me Cooper"? Mom, any chance in the world, just give it to us straight. Any chance in the world?
Zero. None.
Zero.
Not
yeah, I agree. I agree with Mom. It's not going to happen. I mean, listen, I promise you, if the Browns walk up to Myles Garrett and says, Who do you want to go to? What is your number one choice? I would bet my car that he says the Cincinnati Bengals. We already know what Myles Garrett thinks of Joe Burrow. There's a huge respect there. And I just have no doubt in my mind that if Myles Garrett was given the opportunity, he would choose the Cincinnati Bengals, but there is no way in hell that the Cleveland Browns are sending Myles Garrett to the Cincinnati Bengals, or probably to anybody in the AFC if he even gets traded. The Cooper Kupp thing, I think I said in our text chain last night, Cooper Kupp does not want to be a third. Cooper Kupp would be the third receiver on our team. I just don't see that. I don't see Cooper Kupp wanting to be the number 3 receiver, Mon. Do you?
No, listen, he's 32 years old. He's a hell of a football player. If Cooper Kupp is a Cincinnati Bengal, I'm going to tell you guys, that means T. Higgins is playing for another team.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you don't have a $40 million a year Jamar Chase, $25 to $30 million a year T. Higgins, and then $20 million, 19.8, Eric, like you said, $1 million a year contract for Cooper Kupp. Yeah, you had to get that, $200,000 off.
Well, you can't. You said we can't. Mon said we can't have 3 receivers all making over 20 million. And I got, this kind of my job is I got to nitpick on the details, and it doesn't make 20 million.
You got Cooper.
You work for? Oh, that's right. No, you work for Bezos. You don't work for the other guy. You're cutting here and there. Okay, so no, it would be tough. It would really be tough. And listen, Cooper Kupp's a fine player. He's going to go to a good team. You know what? He does know Zach Taylor, but guys, man, 32.
Well, let's just say this. Cooper Kupp, neither one of these guys gets to pick where they're going to go. So it's not up to them. If the Bengals made an offer, I mean, they're saying that the Rams are only going to command a 3rd-round pick for Cooper Kupp. The Bengals offered him a 3rd-round pick. I mean, he would be a great slot receiver, but let's be real. Is 31? He's been in the league for 7 years.
And he's going to be 32 during the season.
32.
Yeah.
That's not a great slot receiver body type, and that's definitely not a type that the Bengals often go after. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think if Myles Garrett's a free agent, he would be taking a lot less to be a Bengal to go win a Super Bowl. But we're not there, so
listen,
we'll move on from that pot.
Let's just mention this really quick. I don't want to get off on this tangent, but let's just mention this really quick. That the signing of Deshaun Watson, and again, the Browns have been the factory of sadness forever, but the signing of Deshaun Watson, that move alone has set this organization back now. I mean, decades. It is going to be very hard for this team and this organization to recover from the Deshaun Watson move. Yeah,
Jake. They absolutely panicked when the Bengals went to Super Bowl 56. Joe 100%. Burrow broke them.
Yep.
They panicked and gave Deshaun Watson, who hadn't played in 18 months, a $240 million guaranteed contract. And then the quarterback that you talked about a few minutes ago, how he helped out your team, went on to go to 2 other teams and has reinvigorated his career.
Yeah,
they would die to have a Baker Mayfield now. They really would. They absolutely panicked and went out. And you know what? It is what it is. They're about to lose a generational player in Myles Garrett. They say they're not going to trade him. Myles Garrett will not be a Brown next year. It's not going to happen. They don't want to be in a rebuild. Joe Bitonio, these other guys don't want to be there either.
Oh, no. Imagine giving up your next 3 drafts, right, to get Deshaun Watson. Imagine having Baker Mayfield and still having all of those picks, right? I mean, Baker Mayfield, you could say, is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. You have Baker Mayfield, and you have all those picks that you absurdly got rid of for Deshaun Watson. It's got to be one of the worst moves in NFL history, signing Deshaun Watson. And I'll say the second worst is the Giants letting Saquon Barkley go, but we won't talk about that either.
No, you're right. But I will tell you this, that I know that the Texans, a little uneven. Their quarterback this year didn't perform as well as he did. What's his name again? Stroud didn't perform as well as he did the year before. Yeah. But what they got from the Browns, the Houston Texans, one of the worst teams in football. And then all those picks and their picks, they hit home runs. Will Anderson, Stroud, all these other players, Nico Collins. Look at them. I mean, they're a team to reckon with over the next few years. The Cleveland Browns. I mean, the Texans are here. The Browns are here.
And come on, that all came from that move, right? That all came from that Deshaun Watson move. I mean, the Texans
absolutely.
In one trade, the Texans rebuilt their entire franchise and now are contenders every year. And, the Browns are you talk about factory of sadness. Dude, the Browns are about to dive back into a decade of just being abysmal.
Well, the Browns could easily get 2 premium picks for Garrett. Garrett is that good. Send him to the NFC. Don't send them to the AFC. Get him out of here.
They won't.
Go to Dallas. Get out of here.
Make sure that they're smart enough to send him to the NFC team that the AFC North doesn't play next year. Don't send him to the Lions. Don't send him to the Vikings. Don't send him to the Packers. We play the NFC North. Don't send him to any of those teams.
No,
help us out. Help yourself out.
Send him to Carolina.
One effect that deal had on us and the rest of the league. That was a David Melagutta deal. That was the first fully guaranteed contract ever in the NFL. That deal springboarded his hard-nosed attitude with the rest of the league. That deal could have quite possibly cost us Jesse Bates because Melagutta got his guy fully guaranteed. So now he knows that everybody else he can get 2 to 3 years guaranteed. That has rippling effects, and it might have cost us Jesse Bates.
100%. Absolutely. You're 100% right about that. That trade changed the entire league in the negative, really, in the negative. But Mon's right. It all started, I'm telling you, Mon hit it on the head. It all started because Joe Burrow and what he did. He took the Browns' soul going to the Super Bowl, and the Browns panic, and it's going to have everlasting effects on the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah,
it is. It set them back, and it was a bold move, very aggressive. We talk about wanting the Bengals to be aggressive. I think the Browns were reckless, but in a sense, as a fan, it was an exciting time for them. Like, hey, man, we're going to the Super Bowl. Going to the Super Bowl. Guess what? It didn't happen, but that was a little reckless. That was reckless. It wasn't aggressive.
Come on, it goes to show you too, because you always for the last couple of years you've talked about how talented this Browns roster has been. And listen, dude, you and I went back and forth on this many times, but they had a talented roster, Mon. But it just goes to show you, if you don't have that position figured out, it just don't matter. Don't matter how good the rest of the roster is.
It's almost statistically impossible to have that many talented players and not succeed.
It's crazy.
That's an organizational failure. I know we debated Pro Bowl versus All-Pro. All-Pro was different from Pro Bowl. All-Pro is prestigious. I think one year they had 7 All-Pros on that roster, 4 first team, second string. That's impressive. You have 22 players that start offense and defense, and the Browns had 7 that made first or second team All-Pro. It still didn't go to the playoffs. It's just that's statistically impossible.
And they're doubling down this year by not re-signing Joe Flacco and rolling with Deshaun Watson again. They made the playoffs with Joe Flacco. You bring in a competent quarterback in there, that roster shows their talent, but they doubled down and let him go, and it cost them. With that being said,
matters. Yeah, coaching matters. When they lost Callahan, that offensive line crumbled. It really did, and they had 2 or 3 guys that were 3-time All-Pros, and Callahan was the glue to that unit.
And not just coaching matters, but coaches that'll stand up to the front office. Deshaun Watson is hindering them, and they're making them play Deshaun Watson. It's kind of like the conversation we've had around some of our aging players. Coaches may want to bench them. Front office says no. Look where it gets you. It adds up. So let's get to what we're actually here for tonight. We're going to do a deep dive into the top 5 positions of need for the Cincinnati Bengals. Fix these 5 positions in this order, the Bengals are going to win it all next year. We're going to kind of go a debate. Mon's got his rankings, Jake's got his rankings. Let's see where they compare, and let's go ahead and debate them. So let's start let's go with Mon. Give us your fifth most important position of need for the Bengals to fix.
And Mon and I do not know what the other one has picked either, right? Mon and I do not know this. Yeah.
Okay, one position group I merged in one, but that's a little later on down the road. It's going to be tight end. Okay, the Bengals did draft a few tight ends in the last draft. Eric All, unfortunately, is going to be out all of 2025. Gesicki was on a one-year deal and played really well for him. I think he will be back. At this time, I don't know. Sample is basically a blocking tight end. He's an extra offensive lineman out there. I know they like Cam Grandy. They really liked him. McLaughlin, the kid from Arizona, they really like. He didn't get to play a lot. Tight end is a sneaky, sneaky need. I want Eric All to come back. He was such an impressive player. Guys, 2 significant injuries back-to-back seasons. He's going to miss this whole year, because his injury was pretty significant. He required 2 surgeries. I hope he can come back. And I don't know. It's a really big question mark. Tight end is a sneaky, big-time need. I know there's a lot of rumors out there. I don't know if these sites are reputable about Pitts potentially being on the market in Atlanta. Maybe the Bengals could give a lower pick for him, or a player, or a future pick in the next draft. But Kyle Pitts is his name. It's going to be something to monitor in free agency and this draft. I think tight end is a sneaky need. That's my fifth.
Jake, what do you got?
I'm not liking how this is starting out. I agree with Mon. My number 5 is also tight end. I'm not liking this so far. Listen, just to kind of go off what Mon said, guys, right now on the roster, we have Drew Sample, we have Eric All, who is not going to play next season. We have Cam Grandy, and we have Tanner McLaughlin, who we haven't seen play at all. That is the tight end room right now. Mike Gesicki, unrestricted free agent. Tanner Hudson, unrestricted free agent. Listen, I almost moved tight end up higher than 5. This is a serious need once again because of the Eric All injury. Hopefully the Bengals re-sign Mike Gesicki, which, by the way, we talked about Joe Burrow going to bat for his guys. How about the receivers going to bat for Mike Gesicki, right? I don't know if you saw that, but Jamar, T, both of them talking about the Bengals need to re-sign Mike Gesicki. So right now, though, we're looking at Drew Sample as a starting tight end, and then Tanner McLaughlin as well with Cam Grandy. Guys, that's not a tight end room that we want to see on opening day, especially with Eric All being injured. So I agree with Mon. My number 5 is tight end. I almost put it up higher because I think it is a serious need, and I think the Bengals will address it. I'm going to say in free agency if it's not re-signing Mike Gesicki.
I like it. All right, let's go. Mon, why don't you give us your fourth?
Okay, my fourth need is going to be safety. Safety to me was one of the biggest Achilles heel to our defense. I am not sold on Geno Stone, even though he improved the last 4 games of the season. Von Bell will not be on the team next year. Tyson Anderson is a core special teamer. I don't see him starting for us as safety. Jordan Battle, I'm very high on. I could see him being one of the pieces there. We have got to get more athletic in the back end there. We really missed the Jesse Bates and the younger Von Bell. I know those guys, they're not coming back. They have got to address safety in free agency. We have got to get better play there, and we have to potentially draft one like a Malachi Starks if he drops to 17, which I doubt. If he's there, they need to sprint to the podium and take him. He's that good. We have got to get an enforcer back there. Guys, Geno Stone, I'm not trying to be negative. I mean, he played against Cooper Rush, the third-string quarterback for the Browns. He played against guys that just they're not elite NFL-level quarterbacks. And you got to admit, man, his tackling is subpar. I don't even know if he's going to be on the team next year. I really don't. And we need some bodies back there. DeJohn Anthony, we got some young pieces. We don't know, how they're going to develop. I'm high on him. He's athletic. His athletic score was through the roof. He potentially could have a future there. I see them looking at free agency and high in the draft for safety.
All right. All right. So, first of all, let me just say this, Jennifer, once again, great minds think alike, Jennifer. And I agree. Ty Warren from Penn State, if the Bengals, if he is on the clock in the first round, run to the podium, Bengals. Run. I fix the trenches in free agency and go get Ty Warren, because Ty Warren with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Ooh, that's nasty. All right, my number 4 is going to be maybe a little bit of a shocker, but it's running back. Running back to me is a serious need on this football team, guys. Listen, this is the running back room right now. Right now, as we speak, this is the running back room. Chase Brown. That's the end of the list. Zach Moss is not coming back, guys. He's not coming back. He's still got 1 year. He's not coming back, though. He's got 1 year left. He's not coming back. The Bengals are going to cut him. There's going to be dead money there, a little bit of dead money, but Zach Moss is not going to be in stripes. He doesn't belong in stripes. Right now, Chase Brown is the only running back in the running back room, right? Khalil Herbert, unrestricted free agent. Travion Williams, unrestricted free agent. Chris Evans, again, I know we don't see Chris Evans ever play. Also an unrestricted free agent, guys. Right now, Chase Brown is the only running back in the running back room. And we see these teams that have these two running back, even if it's a guy that can come in and get you 5 or 10 touches, it's a need, right? When the Bengals made those runs for the AFC Championship, they had Joe Mixon and they had Samaje Perine. You've got to have another running back to offset some of that work. And I would love the Bengals to go out and get some type of maybe a back that is a little bit bigger than Chase Brown, that can get you those short yardage carries, and maybe he's a good guy blocking in pass pro like we saw with Samaje Perine. But I'm going to tell you guys this. The Bengals are going to have to go out and grab a couple running backs, because if they go in the season with just Chase Brown and a bunch of young players, that's not going to be a good situation. So my number 4 is running back. I think it's a big need on this football team.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean, we were all sold on Jahmyr Gibbs and what that would do for us not too long ago. I just one name to throw out there, Cam Scatterbo. Add him to Chase Brown.
I like him.
Ooh. Man, there was a one run. I'm not sure which game it was, one of the playoff games, or nobody could tackle him, and that's what we need. We need somebody that can find the end zone, find the first down. When you need 2 yards, he gets you 3. That's what we've been missing for a long time. Joe Burrow should never have to take a QB sneak, never.
Agreed.
So get a running back like him, or a bruiser like Cedric Benson, somebody in that mold. Never QB sneak again. Mon, let's go to Jake first on this. Go ahead, Jake. Give us your third.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your third most important.
My third is safety. For me, the Bengals safety room, it's just not very good. I mean, we can twist this thing and turn it and talk about Tyson Anderson and Geno Stone playing better at the end of the year and all this. Guys, this safety room is a serious need. I'm talking about there's a good chance that the Bengals go safety in the first round. I think the Bengals are very unhappy with the safety room. You heard a couple guys. You heard Duke Tobin call out the entire safety room, right? When your GM calls out the safety room, an entire positional group room, that is not a good sign. Zach Taylor has talked about publicly after the season how badly the safeties tackled and played. Listen, I love Jordan Battle. He's still my favorite pick of that draft. But this Bengals safety room is a train wreck right now. It is a train wreck, guys. We are still trying, we are still trying to replace Jesse Bates. It's been 2 years now. We have not been able to do it. But this safety room, guys, has got to be fixed. Although we have everybody coming back besides Von Bell, who's an unrestricted free agent, that does not matter because the guys that are here are not good enough to get it done and to be starters in this league right now. I'm not giving up on guys like Anthony and those guys. I think they're young players, but the Bengals have got to go find two starting safeties as far as I'm concerned. Mon.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I had him at 4. Safety play was absolutely atrocious, and one of the big reasons our tackling numbers were as bad.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, so my turn now, right?
You might say that the safeties are the reason that Lou Anarumo lost his job. Poor pursuit, poor tackling, poor angles, and Lou's gone. Yeah, why don't you give us your third, Mon?
Linebacker. Linebacker's huge. The Bengals don't keep a lot of linebackers, but Jermaine Pratt, I really don't think is going to be on the team. He just looked a little slower. He looked like he got old pretty quick. We need more athletes on defense, and it's got to start at linebacker. Logan Wilson can still play. Before his injury, I thought was playing rather well. Pro Football Focus had him 21 out of 84 linebackers. He was doing really good. Obviously, the injury knocked him out for the season. We got a couple undrafted free agents that are promising, but I don't want to go into the season with an undrafted free agent playing next to him. I could see the Bengals going in free agency or using a premium pick at linebacker. We have to get younger there, and we have to get athletic. And guess what? We need sure tacklers. I need thumpers. Some of the other guys, 45, what was his name? Mojetta. He's a great player. Yeah, but he's not a fluid athlete. Guys, we need athletes. We really do. And I think if one of those young linebackers from Georgia, there's a kid from Notre Dame that played for Golden that could come in, free agent, they're going to upgrade that position. They have to. Our tackling was atrocious on defense. And our linebackers are supposed to be able to sweep in and knock these guys down. We don't want 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yards after first contact. I don't know what the stats are, but I would guarantee you the Bengals were towards the bottom in the league when it comes to that, when it comes to tackling and yards after initial contact. Linebacker, to me, is critical. Third most pressing need for this team.
Listen, I want to say something real quick. Mon is 100% right? This team, Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt and Meta are, I believe, the only 3 linebackers right now on this roster. Akeem Davis-Gaither is an unrestricted free agent. Joe Bocci is an unrestricted free agent. We've heard a lot of rumblings about Jermaine Pratt getting cut. Now you're down to Meta and Logan Wilson. So, Mon, I agree 110%. Linebacker is a huge need. And, again, going to be interesting to see if they fill it in the draft or in free agency.
Yeah, I want to jump back, about the defense, quickly about safety. Geno Stone succeeded with the Ravens, with that great Raven defense. Geno Stone's a 4'6", 4'7" guy. Yeah. Jordan Battle is a good player, but he wasn't considered an elite athlete. You have got to have guys that just are off the charts athletically at those spots, especially up the middle of your defense. And I think that's safety and linebacker. It's really important. I think that's one of the reasons that we had a drop off with our defense the last couple of years.
Agreed.
Let's stick with Mon. Why don't you give us your number 2?
Okay, I merged these. I had them broke up, but to me, the defensive line. If you guys watch this show, we talk about it. Our trench play is absolutely. It's not up to par with playoff teams. I'll say it again. I think I've said it 10 times on this show. What Dave Lapham says: if you control the line of scrimmage, you control the football game. And that's a basic, simple statement, but it is so true. We have got to get better at defensive end and defensive tackle. What Trey Hendrickson did this year without a real competent piece on the other side to help him was phenomenal to get 17 and a half sacks. And I don't know what the final sack numbers were for the Bengals, but he had 60, 70% of the sacks. Osai flashed a little bit towards the end of the season. I'm really big on Cedric Johnson. They need Miles Murphy. I know he didn't register a sack. He didn't get to play a lot until the second half of the season. He's a first-round pick. They're not going to give up on him. They got to keep on adding there. I could see a first-round pick being a defensive end. Defensive tackle, I don't know if BJ Hill's going to be back. I really don't. Jenkins, Jackson, solid players. They are going to load up in free agency and the draft early at the defensive line. I could see them drafting potentially 2 players out of the 6 picks that we have and signing at least 2 more to help reinforce the trenches on the defensive side.
Jake?
I agree. My number 2 is also I put defensive tackle as a little bit more of a need, but Mon's right. I mean, if we're gonna package the deal, let's package the deal. I agree with Mon. The entire defensive line is a mess. Besides Trey Hendrickson, I mean, BJ Hill obviously unrestricted free agent. You have McKinley, Jackson. You have Jenkins, Jay Tuafeli, unrestricted free agent. Sheldon Rankings, we all know, is not going to be in stripes next year. So right now, the Bengals D tackle room is 2 guys that are second-year guys, and McKinley, Jackson, and Jenkins. Those are the only 2 going to be returning defensive tackles on this team. This whole defensive tackle room is going to look completely different. Mon and I talked about that before. But to me, that defensive tackle position it's just another train wreck. Again, another reason why this defense was as bad as it was. I agree with Mon. I don't think BJ Hill's coming back. Sheldon Rankings is definitely not coming back. Jay Tuafeli is definitely not coming back. So you're basically going into the season right now with 2 second-year players, and that is it. That is the end of the list when it comes to the defensive tackle room. And then you look at the defensive end guys, that position. Joseph Osai, a guy we saw the last 4 or 5 weeks play really well, unrestricted free agent. Cam Sample, unrestricted free agent. So you have Hendrickson, you have Miles Murphy, you have Sam Hubbard coming back. However, I think he is probably a name that we might see as a surprise cut. If it's a surprise cut, then you have the rookie Cedric Johnson this year. So this defensive line room to me is going to look more different than any other room on this team. I think there's going to be a huge overhaul in this defensive line room. Montgomery is going to come in. He's going to have guys that he wants, the new D-line coach. I think Trey Hendrickson stays. I think Cedric Johnson stays and Miles Murphy stays. And then the 2 tackles in Jenkins and Jackson. And after that, it's probably going to look completely different. So I love that Mon packaged the deal. I'm going to do the same. I think the defensive line as a whole is the second biggest need on this team going into the offseason, 100%.
Yeah, can't argue with that. We've talked the bottom 4, so to speak. There's one glaring one that's out there. So as we all know, it's gotta be the quarter. Oh no! Oh no! Okay. Why don't you guys both say it at the same time? Because there's no way that you don't agree on this.
You want to say it at the same time? I will count it down. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Interior
Guard.
Offensive line.
You said I said guard. Okay.
Guard. Come on, man.
I'm gonna go.
You guys got to practice this stuff. Bond, why don't you give us the thoughts on how crappy the guard play is and how do we fix it?
I'll say this, and if it comes across as crass and negative, I'm sorry. If I know we have a new offensive line coach who's highly respected. If he thinks he can revitalize careers of existing players, if they trot out Alex Kappa with his multiple leg injuries, if they bring out a Cordell Volson who's been on the team 3 years and we've seen what he can deliver, we've seen Cordell Volson in action. A new offensive line coach isn't going to make him an all-pro. If the Bengals trot out those 2 guys to start the season, they're not a serious organization.
Yes.
Easily bottom 3 guards in football.
Yes.
Why are the Bengals sitting at home and not in the playoff? Joe Burrow should be MVP. You can make a good argument that he should be. Jamar Chase, Triple Crown. T. Higgins, great season. Chase Brown, elite, electric, turned into a very solid pro player. Gesicki had a great season. Why are they not in the playoffs? Because, guys, you can't have position groups like guard bottom 3 in the NFL.
Yes.
It wipes out the greatness of the other team, of the other guys. It really does. They are the worst guard tandem in football. Not even close.
Yes.
They have, if they're going to spend some serious money, it has to be a guard, and they have to draft somebody in the first 2 rounds that could come in and play. All right. Teams, Steelers started two rookies this year. They had ups and downs, but guess what? They're going to get better. You got to play them. Guys don't get better sitting on the bench. You got to play them. Premium pick at guard, a solid free agent, not a body, a guy that has a significant reputation, solid play in the NFL, and maybe another guy to come in as depth. They have got to get better at that position. It was horrible, guys. When the Bengals have 14-point leads in the third and fourth quarter, I want my team to be able to run the ball and put those teams away. I want them to be able to do that. My team can't do that. My team runs the ball with smoke and mirrors, a slasher, a real fast back, reverses this and that. I want them to be able, when they're up 2 scores or 10 points, to be able to run the ball and put those teams away. We haven't been able to do that for years. You know why? Because our offensive line sucks, interior-wise, that is. And it's got to get better.
Hey.
Yeah, I mean that was good. That was good stuff. I mean, listen, Les, if you're still on, get Bob Vila ready, because I know you said I have problems with all these rooms. Listen, this room, Bob Vila couldn't even fix. This room is so atrocious. Again, Mon talked about all these offensive weapon guys. Joe Burrow, MVP of the league. I don't care who gets it. He is the MVP of the league. Jamar Chase, top 5 player in the NFL, easy. Best receiver, easy. T. Higgins, top 10 wide receiver in the NFL, easy. Chase Brown, up and coming, 1,350 total yards this year. Mike Gesicki, his best season as a pro, I think, 700 yards, somewhere around 600 something, 700 yards. We had the worst guard in the NFL. You talk about Jamar winning the Triple Crown. Alex Kappa is the worst guard in the NFL. And that says a lot, because Cordell Volson is right next to him and is like really neck and neck. I mean, these two guys, you guys ever see Talladega? Is it Talladega Nights with Will Ferrell?
Mm-hmm.
That's shake and bake, right? That's shake and bake. It's like Kappa's Will Ferrell. He is the worst guard. And then the other guy, I can't think of what the actor's name is, but he is like second.
His name was Dale in the show. So, but they
so Volson is second place, is the second worst guard in the NFL. This guard room is so bad. Mon, you talk about you want to see your team run the football and put teams away. I want to see my quarterback, the best player in the NFL. I want a guy that took the Bengals to the Super Bowl with the worst offensive line collectively as a whole that has probably been in the league in the last decade. I want to see my quarterback have more than 1 second to throw the football. Can you imagine, guys, if Joe Burrow had the same amount of time as some of these clowns like a Jalen Hurts? Can you imagine if Joe Burrow had that much time to throw the football? It is over. It is unstoppable. Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL with the crappiest offensive line in the NFL. Imagine where he would be with the best, or even a top 10 offensive line in the NFL. The Bengals have got to go out, and I think they will, guys. Listen, they go out, they fire, Zach fires his buddy Frank Pollock. That showed me a lot. I mean, he had to do it, but it still showed me a lot. They go out, they get this young up-and-coming guy who is it looks like he brings a lot more energy to the room. And, again, I don't want to talk him up, but I do think it's going to be a big boost for that room. And the Bengals got to fix the offensive line, the interior. Listen, Ted Karras obviously coming back. Although we've seen him as a possible cut, I don't see that happening. Trent Brown, unrestricted free agent. I know he plays tackle, but still a guy that we thought maybe would play a little bit of guard once Amarius Mims maybe got himself under his feet, but then Trent Brown obviously got hurt. Cody Ford, unrestricted free agent, but it's really the guys that they have coming back, the Volsons and the Kappas, that just do not belong as starter. I think Volson could be a good depth guy, but good Lord, Kappa has got to go. He is just atrocious.
Jake, what petrifies me, Cody Ford should come in and be a depth piece. He played okay at tackle and guard.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. If he comes in as a starter, that scares me. We have to get better. To me, that's not a solution. No. And you're already seeing some beat writers, people that cover the Bengals for years, are writing up these pieces about Cody Ford. Come on, we have got to get better than that. Guys, I asked this question a few weeks ago, and I posted it on Twitter too. I really feel this, and you guys might not agree. If Joe Burrow had 500 less passing yards and 5 less TDs, and the Bengals offense replaced that with 400 more rushing yards and 5 rushing TDs, I think we'd have 2 more wins.
I agree.
I'm telling you, the Bengals have to put teams away. Listen, we saw strip sacks this year from Joe Burrow. Yeah, hey man, careless. You need to do a better job. They were up 10 points when one of them happened. All right, run the ball, get a power back, do unbalanced lines, bring in heavy package. You got to be able to run the ball, shorten the game because hey man, you're ahead. I'm not saying get ultra conservative, but run the ball, limit the possessions for Lamar Jackson, limit the possessions for Herbert. Let those guys sit on the bench. That helps your defense that can't tackle.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy, Monez? This is what's crazy about this roster is you have the two end pieces, right? I think we all feel very good about Orlando Brown. We all feel very good about Amarius Mims. You have the 2 cornerstones, the ones that are hard to find, right? The tackles are the hard ones to find. There's no reason. But we know this, Mon. We know this. We've been Bengal fans forever. The Bengals do not prioritize guard. We've seen them let guys like Zeitler go and Max Montoya. I mean, all these great guards and try to replace them with these ridiculous clowns. And you have your franchise quarterback who is the best player in the NFL. You have him dropping back 40 times a game. You got to fix it. Cody Ford is not a fix. He's a body. I like him as a depth piece. He's a Nick Scott. You can't replace Jesse Bates with Nick Scott. You got to bring in players, better players than that.
Just because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase can be superhuman every week, it doesn't mean they need to be every week.
Yes.
Okay?
100%.
That's all I want. There's too many fans out there. Hey, we just need a middle-of-the-road defense. We just need an okay offensive line. F that. We don't need that. We need to be better than that. Guys, let's go back. The Kansas City Chiefs were absolutely pummeled by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mahomes was pile-driven into the ground and destroyed. What did that organization do? They went out and they said, guys, we can't have this. It's not sustainable. Tooney, Creed Humphreys, Trey Smith, they got the best interior offensive line in football. They focused, they sent out scouts, and they go, these are the guys. They haven't missed. They did miss a Super Bowl because of us. But that's the only Super Bowl they've missed since then.
Yes.
They have played in championship games every year. Guys, we don't need John Jerry. I don't need Cody Ford. I don't need Alex Redmond. I don't need John Miller. I don't need all these guys. I need real players.
Yeah.
Jake, we're gone 3 years trying to replace Jesse Bates. You mentioned it. We've gone 8 years of Kevin Zeitler. We can't do that. That's not acceptable. And you know what? This front office needs to be held accountable for it. And shows like this are going to do it.
And let me say this too, because I think it was Jerry talked about Burrow hates interior pressure. Jerry, let me tell you something. Every quarterback hates interior pressure. Every single quarterback at every single level. Interior pressure as a quarterback is devastating. It's brutal. Listen, it cost the Bengals 2 Super Bowls, guys. Interior pressure cost the Bengals 2 Super Bowls. Aaron Donald cost us a Super Bowl,
Chris
and
Jones.
Chris Jones the next year cost us a Super Bowl.
Brookie,
pressure.
Yeah, Brookie, yeah. The Chiefs have bad tackles. They have 3 All-Pros on the interior offensive line. I don't care about their tackles.
Yeah. No,
I don't care.
Listen, again, as a quarterback, the interior of the offensive line is so much more important. I'm telling you guys, as a quarterback, anytime there's pressure in your face, not from the sides, but in your face, it is impossible. It is impossible to see throwing lanes. It's impossible to get timing down with the receivers. It's impossible to do any of those things at any level of football. You cannot win if you are giving up interior pressure.
I have rewatched some of the worst Bengal losses this year. Yes, I'm a glutton for punishment. There's been 2 games that I'm telling you, Kappa was literally picked up and pile driven into the ground. One game, he was this close. It was the Charger game. He could have shredded Joe's knee.
I remember that.
Joe's knee could have caved in because Alex Kappa was pile driven into the ground. Guys, physicality is the key. If this team comes out and gets punched in the mouth in the AFC North, we're not going to be in the playoffs again next year. It's an attitude. Better players, better coaching, and you know what? Don't take any crap from anybody. I almost cussed twice tonight. Don't take any crap from anybody.
Ooh.
Physicality is the key. Physicality is the key, and it's got to start in the trenches.
And you know what? Go get a guard that when Joe Burrow does get hit late, gets up in the defender's face. Have somebody that has some fire to him and that maybe could possibly get ejected from a game because he doesn't want his quarterback to get beat up. You know, get somebody that cares, at least makes it look like they care. Good God.
You know what? I caught a lot of hell on social media from offensive line guru on there, that offensive line expert, whatever. When Joe Burrow got cheap shotted and the offensive line didn't do anything. All right. And he goes, "Oh, man, what do you expect them to do?" I expect them to get in the guy's face and don't hit my quarterback again.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? It happened again, and it was Max Crosby. They're like, "Dude, man, enough is enough. You got it. You got to stick up for your quarterback. I know penalties suck. It hurts your team. You know what? Deliver a message. I don't want anything cheap, but you know what? Do what Whitworth did against the Raiders. Freaking go in there and raise some hell. You can't do that to your franchise quarterback. That's why I love hockey. When a star player gets roughed up, half the team will go after the player that hit him. That's the way it needs to be.
Well, and I pointed that out too at the NBA just last week. Timberwolves the team's not into it. They're not emotional. They're having issues. Coach goes out there and gets a crazy technical and gets ejected from the game. Team goes out a run, pulls out the game. Sometimes you need something to spark a fire and wake guys up. And if my quarterback gets hit, I don't care who you are. I'm gonna be up in your face yelling at you because that's not right. And we need some guys that'll stand up for our franchise player.
I guarantee you this. There will be 2 new starting guards when this season kicks off. I'm telling you right now.
There was a comment earlier too, and that's one thing to note. Volson's got escalators now because of his playing time. So now Volson's no longer making $1 to $2 million a year. He's probably making 3.8, almost $4 million a year, which throws him into no longer keeping him for a depth piece. Now that's a cut candidate in a lot of people's eyes.
Listen, I think both guards are gone. I think Cap is gone. I'm telling you right now.
Okay.
I think both guards will not be on this football team in the fall. I'm telling you. Listen, when your GM, just like he did with the safeties, when they call out the offensive line and talk about the issues with the offensive line, and you're getting it from the head coach, that says a lot. That says all it needs to say.
I just want to add one thing about the new offensive line coach. He has a background in MMA and fighting and all that. I think that his version of the offensive line, I think they're going to be physical, and I don't think they're going to put up with any crap. I just wonder, let me just ask you guys this. Do you think that the front office and even some of the coaches are like, why aren't these guys going after the defensive linemen that are cheap shotting the quarterback? Maybe that left the sour taste in their mouth. They're like, hey, we need to bring in an ass kicker. And that's why they brought in the offensive line coach from the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, I think that is part of, or was part of, the problem. I really do. I mean, again, being a football coach myself, if somebody cheap shots my quarterback, I'm gonna tell you right now, it better be taken care of. It better be taken care of. Now, again, how you do that, it needs to be discussed, right? You don't want anybody getting thrown out or anything stupid like that. But you also can't not only let your quarterback get destroyed, but then make him pick himself up off the ground, right? I mean, that's what we've seen the last couple of years, is Joe Burrow getting pummeled and then getting himself up off the ground. Like that is just that's not seen at any level of football. And it says a lot about the coach, Frank Pollock, and it says a lot about some of those players.
Yeah. We'll see, man. It's going to be an interesting few weeks. We can't wait. I can't wait for free agency to start. I think it's the 10th or the 11th of March. That's when the tampering period starts, somewhere around there. So
I think it's the 9th.
Is it
Monday the 9th, I believe?
Yeah. At 4 o'clock. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going
to be.
I thought
it was. Isn't it usually around 12?
No, I think it usually starts like at 4 o'clock or something.
Yeah, I think it's 4. Yeah. Hey, real quick, what is going to? Are there going to be any signings before free agency, Mon?
Well,
are there any extensions before free agency?
I hope so. I hope one of them is T. Higgins. We just signed a wide receiver from Washington to a futures contract today, but that's not replacing T. Higgins. No. I'll say this: if T. Higgins makes it to free agency, he's not a Bengal.
Oh, I think we all agree.
Yeah, if he makes it to the tampering period, it's done. He's going to get an astronomical contract.
If he makes it to the tag, he's most likely not a Bengal. That's my opinion on that.
Well, if they tag him, we know contract negotiations aren't going well. Yeah. And then I think he'll get traded. Because I don't know, a lot of reputable NFL pundits are saying that if Trey Hendrickson doesn't get a contract, he's not playing on the last year of his contract. So, man, team chemistry is huge.
You could argue that Trey is the most that you can get the most for Trey. You're most likely not trading T. Trey at his age, you'd probably kind of be stupid not to take a first and a second for him, just because edge rushers don't age well, and he may be the anomaly, but how could you pass up?
I don't think they'll get a first for him. I really don't. I think they might get a second.
Defensive player of the year, you're not going to get a first for him?
Guys, Trey's not going anywhere. I'm telling you, I just talked to Trey. Trey's not going anywhere.
That's actually what Jake was telling Baker.
Jake just gave him his coaching stipend, so he's staying. So
yeah, he slipped him a 20. He said, "You're staying with the Bengals."
That ain't going to get him to stay. That ain't going to get him to stay. I promise you.
He gave him $8 and a Best Buy gift card with $13 on it.
Oh Lord! Actually, it's $11.95 now.
I use Best Buy gift card.
Yeah, it's like $13.06. Yeah,
I got him a year subscription to Jello of the Month Club.
Pastrami sub from Publix.
That's a Christmas vacation. That's a Christmas vacation drop right there on you boys.
That's the gift that keeps on giving, Jake. The gifts that keeps on giving.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Guys, tomorrow night, I don't actually, before we get out of here, I think it's just going to be Jake and I on Thursday. Hopefully we can get in there and sneak a show in for you guys. But Mon, I don't think you'll be with us Thursday. So why don't you give us that Super Bowl prediction just to put it on record?
Okay, I'm not. I really, really feel confident with this. I'm going to put the $20 at Hard Rock on this. The Eagles are going to win. they're going to win by double digit. I think they win by 10 to 14 points. I think that offense and defensive line is going to take over the game. I think they're going to control the ball. They're going to have, I think Hurts is going to make some plays passing, but the running game is going to start off slow because Spagnuolo is going to do everything in his power to stop Barkley. He's going to wear him down. Third, fourth quarter, he's going to get his yards. I think they're going to control the clock 35 plus minutes. They're going to win, I'm going to say 28-17, Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl champs.
Jake, you want to give yours too?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Listen, I disagree. I think it was Terrell Owens that said the fix is in. I disagree, Terrell. I think the Eagles win this football game. I don't think there's any ref on this planet or fix on this planet that can change this outcome. The Eagles, unless we see the Jalen Hurts that we saw in the regular season, all Jalen Hurts has to do is turn around and hand the ball off to the best running back in the NFL, behind the best offensive line in the NFL. Again, I'm with Mon. I think this is a 2-score game at least. And I'm going to say the Eagles win this game 31-17, Philadelphia Eagles. And we don't have to listen to – and then it's the end. It's the end of the run of the Chiefs. The Bengals run begins, and we don't have to watch Miley – oh, it's not Miley Cyrus. What's his girlfriend's name? That's same thing.
Olivia, you're going to have to get him for that one.
Seriously, I forgot her name. Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift,
are you
see that nonsense, and Kelsey's going to retire and go.
I'll tell you what,
Miley Cyrus and
wait. Jake doesn't even know who Taylor Swift is. He's in the Hannah Montana world here.
Miley Cyrus is a smaller. She's a good-looking lady.
Wow, man, we should have cut this show a few minutes ago.
Wait, no, but come on.
I know, but
she's talented. She's talented.
Eric, do you have real quick before do you have the picture of Trey Hendrickson that I sent you?
Yeah. Let's
put that
see
up
if I can get that.
Just so all of you listeners can see. Tell me this is not a guy that is not coming back to the Cincinnati Bengals next year.
Hold on. I gotta find it here. Give me a second. Talk through it.
All right.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. Listen, Mon. I don't care if it's Miley Cyrus or Taylor Swift or I don't know who else. I don't know who else is out there, but I'm not going to have to listen to any more of that garbage and just worry about football from here on out.
Listen, I'm an old guy. I'm just going to talk about Grace Slick of the Jefferson Airplane. She passed away now, but she would be in her 70s. Wow. But she was actually pretty cool, man. I mean,
I'm surprised you're not talking about the mamas and the papas. What was that about?
Grace Slick is much older than me. Thank you. I just want to say we got over 300 people in here live. Thank you so much. We appreciate your support. Thank you for coming in. It's therapy for us. For me, I really love doing this because I love the Bengals and I love talking about it and it just it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and we appreciate you guys for being part of it. Thank you, Jennifer. All right, Jennifer likes Grace Slick. You see, you guys make fun of me.
I don't know.
I know music.
You're throwing that far back. Jake's throwing into Miley Cyrus.
Listen. I just to go off what Mon said.
Look at that.
There it is. Look at those 3 studs. Look at those 3 studs right there. I mean, tell me, look at Trey. Look at Trey, how excited he is hanging out with the Owens boys. Listen.
He's like, can I get back to Baker?
You can't tell me that he is not going to be a Bengal.
I have 3 autographed jerseys hanging in my room here. Ken Anderson, Anthony Munoz, and Trey Hendrickson. Trey is a guy. He's from Apopka. He's close by. So he's a Florida dude. Man, they have got to sign him, guys. Our defense, what he did this year with his supporting cast alone makes him an MVP.
Agreed.
See, man.
Does he come back if we only offer him a 1-year extension?
Here's my offer. He makes $21 million this year, or 20. Give him a 1-year extension at $30 million. All right, with $10 million up front. So he's playing with 30 this year. All right, and then They can work it out somehow. I think he wants more than a 1-year extension. He wants at least a 2 or 3 year. Hey man, give the guy $26, $27 million a year for the next 2 years. I think he'll sign it.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. I think that's probably about what he's looking for is, a nice little pay raise. I don't think it's anything that has to be ridiculous and
Well,
throw all these years of money. I think he just wants a payday, and I think I really, all kidding aside, you could tell by the way he talks about the Bengals, he loves the Bengals. He wants to be there. You can tell. I could tell by the way he talked about it. Some players kind of just blow it off. You could tell he wants to be in Cincinnati.
he said last year after the fallout of the trade request that he just wanted long-term stability or long-term commitment. So really, 2-year extension with some guarantees in there that he's going to get so much money. You know what? Let's go back in time and just give him Sam Hummer $10 million. I don't know what Sam did for that $10 million last year, but Trey should have gotten it all.
I think he appreciates the Bengals. I know we're rambling here, guys. I'm sorry, hour and 16 minutes. Remember, they gave him a 4-year, $60 million contract. The Bengals were getting grilled for that. Trey Hendrickson he's a product of that defensive line. They gave him a nice contract.
Yep.
All right. So I think he remembers that. I think he appreciates it and he wants to stay here. The key is, I heard somebody else was talking about it at one of the other podcasts. Don't lowball him. Treat him with respect. Give him a decent contract offer. Do that to T. Do that to Jamar. Step the tone off, of the negotiations on a positive note. I think it was actually Kelsey Conway that said that in one of the pods. It's a valid point. It's a very valid point. Don't insult these guys and don't lowball them like you did Kevin Zeitler, like you did Jesse Bates.
Yeah.
We'll see.
100%.
For sure. Hey, before Jake gets out of here, our guys Ace and Zim have a really good interview lined up with wide receiver coach Jake's guy Troy Walters tomorrow night. So make sure you get a chance, check them out live. Jump in the comments. That should be a really good interview. He's got all our favorite players to coach, so should be pretty good. Give him a shout out.
Absolutely. Troy, great dude, great coach. I met him back in his UCF days when he was recruiting for UCF. So yes, absolutely. Check him out, guys. The guy knows football. You're going to love watching that show. Make sure you check out Troy with Ace and Zim. All right, guys, that is another edition of the Bengals Pulse. As always, guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the awesome podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. As always, guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you give us a 5-star review. We very much appreciate that. As always, you can check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Cincinnati Podcast Network. Make sure you follow Mon on Twitter at The Fire Mon. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Coach Jake Owens 9. Follow Eric on Twitter at eFlash with 2 H's 88. Follow the Cincinnati Podcast on Twitter at Cincinnati Pod. And as always, guys, follow the Bengals Pulse on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9. The same without the @ on Instagram, Bengals_Pulse9. As always, guys, check out all the awesome podcasts. Again, right here on the Cincinnati Podcast Network. He is Mon. He is Eric. I'm Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. Hoo day, Bengal fans. We'll talk to you soon.